A man who dares to waste 1 hour of time has not discovered the value of life. It is a cursed evil to any man to become as absorbed in any subject as I am in mine. The highest possible stage in moral culture is when we recognize that we ought to control our thoughts. A moral being is one who is capable of reflecting on his past actions and their motives, of approving of some and disapproving of others. Even people who aren't geniuses can outthink the rest of mankind if they develop certain thinking habits. In the struggle for survival, the fittest win out at the expense of their rivals because they succeed in adapting themselves best to their environment. A mathematician is a blind man in a dark room looking for a black cat which isn't there. Intelligence is based on how efficient a species became at doing the things they need to survive. If the misery of the poor be caused not by the laws of nature, but by our institutions, great is our sin. I am not apt to follow blindly the lead of other men. To kill an error is as good a service as, and sometimes even better than, the establishing of a new truth or fact. I have called this principle, by which each slight variation, if useful, is preserved, by the term of natural selection. On the ordinary view of each species having been independently created, we gain no scientific explanation. The most powerful natural species are those that adapt to environmental change without losing their fundamental identity, which gives them their competitive advantage. Man is descended from a hairy-tailed quadruped, probably arboreal in its habits. It's not the strongest, but the most adaptable that survive. Only the fittest will survive. Blushing is the most peculiar and most human of all expressions. We are always slow in admitting any great change of which we do not see the intermediate steps. How paramount the future is to the present when one is surrounded by children. A man's friendships are one of the best measures of his worth. The love for all living creatures is the most noble attribute of man. Besides love and sympathy, animals exhibit other qualities connected with the social instincts which in us would be called moral. The very essence of instinct is that it's followed independently of reason. Even the humblest mammals' strong sexual, parental, and social instincts give rise to do unto others as yourself and love thy neighbor as thyself. I ought, or I ought not, constitute the whole of morality. I have always maintained that, excepting fools, men did not differ much in intellect, only in zeal and hard work, and I still think there is an eminently important difference. I am dying by inches, from not having anybody to talk to about insects. The mystery of the beginning of all things is insoluble by us, and I for one must be content to remain an agnostic. As natural selection works solely by and for the good of each being, all corporeal and mental endowments will tend to progress toward perfection. My mind seems to have become a kind of machine for grinding general laws out of large collections of facts. What wretched doings come from the ardor of fame, the love of truth alone would never make one man attack another bitterly. Attention, if sudden and close, graduates into surprise, and this into astonishment, and this into stupefied amazement. Nothing is easier than to admit in words the truth of the universal struggle for life, or more difficult, at least I have found it so, than constantly to bear this conclusion in mind. It is so easy to hide our ignorance under such expressions as the plan of creation or unity of design, etc., and to think that we give an explanation when we only restate a fact. It is so easy to hide our ignorance under such expressions as the plan of creation or unity of design, and to think that we give an explanation when we only restate a fact. We must, however, acknowledge, as it seems to me, that man with all his noble qualities still bears in his bodily frame the indelible stamp of his lowly origin. What a book a devil's chaplain might write on the clumsy, wasteful, blundering, low, and horribly cruel work of nature. I long to set foot where no man has trod before. Progress has been much more general than retrogression. It has been a bitter mortification for me to digest the conclusion that the race is for the strong, and that I shall probably do little more but be content to admire the strides others made in science. The survival or preservation of certain favored words in the struggle for existence is natural selection. We will now discuss in a little more detail the struggle for existence. Great is the power of steady misrepresentation. I love fools' experiments. I am always making them. The season of love is that of battle. The roots of these fights run deep. Man tends to increase at a greater rate than his means of subsistence. Delight itself, however, is a weak term to express the feelings of a naturalist. I am turned into a sort of machine for observing facts and grinding out conclusions. And hail their queen, fair regent of the night. In the survival of favored individuals and races during the constantly recurring struggle for existence, we see a powerful and ever-acting form of selection.